I took the seat because it was empty, or at least it looked empty in the way things often do right before they turn out not to be. The transport hummed with that familiar interstellar vibration that always made my teeth feel slightly misaligned, and I was more focused on not spilling my drink than on who might officially own which chair. The sign above the row flickered between three languages I couldn't read and one I pretended to, so I decided ignorance was a perfectly respectable survival strategy. She was already there when I sat down, apparently. Not beside me at first glance, but beside me in the way gravity exists even when you're not thinking about it. I noticed her only after the seat adjusted itself to my weight with a faint, judgmental whine. She turned her head slowly, as if time itself had politely asked her permission first. She looked human enough to make my brain relax, and alien enough to immediately regret it. The long ears were the giveaway, elegant and deliberate, rising past her hair like a secret she wasn't bothering to hide. "Sorry," I said automatically, because apologies are the universal language of people who have no idea what's going on. "Is this taken?" She looked at the seat, then at me, then back at the seat, as if considering whether furniture could have opinions. "It is now," she said. That seemed fair. I nodded, the matter settled, and stared forward at the vast transparent wall where stars slid past in tidy, organized streams, like they were trying to behave for once. Around us, conversations flowed in low murmurs, punctuated by the soft chime of translation fields adjusting themselves mid-sentence. Someone laughed in a way that suggested alcohol synthesized from something that had once been a plant but now definitely was. I tried not to fidget. Sitting next to strangers was always awkward, and sitting next to strangers with long ears felt like advanced awkwardness, possibly with a certification exam at the end. I cleared my throat. "So, busy flight?" She smiled just slightly. "They all are." I laughed because that sounded like a joke even if I wasn't sure it was meant to be one. "Right, cosmic traffic. Should have taken a wormhole earlier." Her eyes flicked toward me, sharp and amused. "Those are worse." We sat in companionable silence after that, the kind where you pretend it's intentional. The ship shifted subtly, its internal systems recalibrating, lights dimming a fraction before brightening again. I noticed people standing further down the chamber straighten, their casual postures snapping into something stiffer. Someone dropped a tray. No one laughed. "Is it just me?" I muttered, "or did the vibe in here change?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she placed her hand over mine. It wasn't dramatic. No sparks, no surge of energy, no prophetic chanting echoing through the hull. Just fingers, warm and steady, closing around mine as if this were the most natural thing in the universe. I froze, every joke I'd ever learned evacuating my brain at once. "Stay," she said softly. "Don't leave." I swallowed. "I wasn't planning on it," I said, because honesty felt safer than asking why my heart had suddenly decided to attempt escape. "Unless this seat explodes or something, then all bets are off." Her smile deepened, and for a moment I could swear the ship itself leaned in, listening. Around us, the murmurs had faded into near silence. I became acutely aware of how many people were very carefully not looking in our direction. "Good," she said, "because it would be inconvenient if you did." "Inconvenient for who?" I asked, attempting lightness while my pulse staged a rebellion. "For everyone," she replied. That was when I noticed the guards. They hadn't appeared so much as resolved into existence, like a bad realization. Tall, armored, very much not decorative. Their attention was fixed forward, but their presence radiated outward, filling the space with unspoken rules. I glanced at her ears again, at the calm certainty in her posture, at the way the seat beneath her didn't adjust at all, as if it already knew better. "I have to ask," I said quietly. "Am I about to be arrested, recruited, or married?" She laughed then, a soft sound edged with something ancient. "None of those," she said. "Not yet." I exhaled, a nervous chuckle slipping out before I could stop it. "Great. I love a vague answer. Really keeps the anxiety fresh." Her thumb brushed lightly against my hand, grounding me more effectively than gravity ever had. "You sat beside me by chance," she said, "but chance is rare where I come from." I looked at our joined hands, then back at the stars, suddenly aware that this ordinary, ridiculous moment might be balancing on something vast and fragile. "You know," I said, "where I'm from, sitting in the wrong seat just gets you dirty looks." She met my gaze, her long ears catching the light. "Where I'm from," she said, "it changes destinies." I laughed again, because the alternative was screaming, and somehow she smiled like that was exactly the right response. No one told me when the staring was supposed to start, but it definitely had. Not the obvious kind, not the wide-eyed pointing that usually followed diplomatic disasters, but the disciplined kind, the sort where everyone suddenly found the floor, the walls, or their own hands deeply fascinating. If ignorance really was bliss, the entire chamber was working overtime to achieve it. I leaned a little closer to her and lowered my voice. "I'm guessing you're not just someone with very good seating preferences." She considered that. "I am particular," she said. "That's not what I meant," I replied, "but I admire the commitment to understatement." Her grip on my hand didn't loosen. If anything, it felt firmer now, like an anchor quietly dropped. The transport adjusted course, and a soft ripple of light passed through the chamber as the navigation corps recalculated probabilities I was fairly certain I didn't want to know. Somewhere nearby, a translator stuttered, repeating the same syllable 3 times before giving up entirely. "People are afraid," I said, surprising myself with the observation. "I mean more than usual." "They should be," she said gently. "But not of you." "Well, that's a relief," I muttered. I left my intimidating presence back at customs. She turned to face me fully then, and it felt like the rest of the room politely stepped out of existence. "You are human," she said, as if confirming a hypothesis. "I've been told," I said, "frequently, usually right before someone explains what I'm doing wrong." A flicker of amusement crossed her expression. "Your species is unpredictable, emotionally flexible, politically inconvenient." "I like to think of us as adaptable," I said. "It sounds friendlier." Her eyes softened, and for a moment the tension in the air bent just slightly, like metal warming under pressure. "That is why you are here. I hate to break it to you," I said, "but I'm here because the line for the other seats was long." She laughed again, and this time it drew a reaction. A few heads turned before immediately turning away again, as if laughter itself had violated protocol. One of the armored guards shifted, armor whispering softly as internal systems synced with hers. The seat beneath us pulsed faintly, responding to a signal I hadn't sent. "Do you know who I am?" she asked. I considered lying, I considered fainting, I settled on honesty. "I have theories," I said. "None of them end with me keeping my job." She studied me, long ears tilting almost imperceptibly. "I am the queen," she said, not loudly, not dramatically, just a fact placed between us like a piece of gravity. "Oh," I said. She waited. "That's wow," I continued. "I mean, congratulations." That earned me a look so sharp it could have cut through hull plating, followed immediately by a smile that suggested she appreciated the effort. "You are not impressed." "I am deeply impressed," I said. "I'm just also deeply unqualified for this conversation." "That is precisely why it works," she replied. The transport's internal lights dimmed again, this time staying that way. A holographic interface shimmered briefly in the air, displaying streams of data in colors I didn't have names for. I caught fragments, titles, star systems, probabilities dropping and rising like nervous hearts. "You are holding my hand," I said quietly, finally acknowledging the obvious. "Yes." "Is that allowed?" "Nothing about this is," she said. I laughed, a short, breathless sound. "Of course it is." Her thumb traced a small, absent circle against my skin, and my thoughts scattered like startled birds. "They are watching," she said. "They see a human beside me. They see calm where there should be distance. It unsettles them." "I'm good at that," I said. Unsettling people is sort of my thing. Good, she said, because what comes next requires discomfort. The chamber hummed, deeper now, as if the ship itself were holding its breath. I felt the weight of unseen attention press in, not hostile but calculating, measuring. So, I said, attempting to sound casual while destiny apparently loitered nearby. Do I get a briefing, or do I just keep sitting very still and hope the universe figures itself out? She leaned closer, her voice barely more than a thought. You keep being exactly what you are, she said, and you do not let go. I glanced at our hands again, at how natural it suddenly felt, how wrong and right in equal measure. You know, I said, this is already the strangest trip I've ever taken. Her smile was quiet, resolute. It has only just begun. The silence didn't end so much as it reorganized itself. It became orderly, intentional, the kind of quiet that had rules. The chamber adjusted again, the hum of the ship dropping to a frequency I felt in my bones instead of my ears. Somewhere deep within the transport, a decision had been made, and the universe, apparently, had agreed to wait. A figure stepped forward from the ring of armored guards, older than the rest, posture precise in a way that suggested centuries of practice. Your presence, they said, voice filtered through layers of translation, has altered the balance. I raised my free hand slightly. In my defense, I sat down. The Queen's grip tightened, not as a warning but as reassurance. The balance was fragile, she said calmly. He revealed it. The figure studied me with open assessment. I had the uncomfortable sense of being scanned not just physically, but narratively, like they were trying to determine what role I was supposed to play. A human, they said, unbound, unaffiliated, emotionally available, I offered, because I hear that's important. A few murmurs rippled through the chamber, before being immediately suppressed. The Queen's amusement brushed against my mind like warmth. You see, she said, why he is dangerous. The figure inclined their head, and why he is useful. The holographic interface flared to life again, this time stabilizing. Probabilities settled. Red lines faded to amber, then to a calm, steady blue. I didn't know what catastrophe we had avoided, but I could tell from the collective exhale that it had been a good one. The treaties will hold, the figure said slowly, but the image remains. The image is truth, the Queen replied. I chose connection over distance, let them learn from it. All eyes returned to me. I resisted the urge to wave. So, I said, am I a symbol now, or is this more of a cautionary tale situation? Both, she said. The transport began its descent toward the station, stars stretching and folding as space complied.